Hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm a clinical emergency medicine pharmacist, and this is my kind of non-traditional way into getting my #1 ranked residency program. Pharmacy residencies are just like med residencies. They're very competitive and very hard to get. Now, I do want to preface this by saying if you don't match into a residency, your career is not over. Not only can you go back and do one if you want next year or the year after, you can have a very successful pharmacy career without a residency. It might not pan out exactly how you want it to be, but you can be a great pharmacist without it. But I did do one, so I can't say any more about that. But in pharmacy school, I did not want to do a residency. I was retail focused, so I did organizations, but I wasn't president of everything. I didn't have like a great GPA. I mean, I had a good GPA. I wasn't stupid, but I wasn't Rokai. I had a 3.7 all throughout school, maybe even a 3.6 at some point, and then I graduated with a 3.9. I really started to not like pharmacy school in my second year, and so I went to the University of Georgia, and they have a dual PharmD MBA degree, and so I did that program purely as a backup to pharmacy. I was so unhappy with the thought of being a retail pharmacist that I did that. I added an extra year onto my grad school career because I just thought like I can't do this. And my main focuses at school were not to be president of SNAFA or president of APHA. It was to get good grades and work at Publix to make some extra money. And so that's what I did. I was involved in orgs, but I wasn't the best. I wasn't. But I did show my face, my professors. I developed some relationships with them, just making sure they knew me, made sure they knew I was trying because I needed help in some classes. So I started dating someone in my year of business school, which is after your second year and then before your third year. So you take basically a gap year from pharmacy school to go to business school. And he and I started dating and talked about getting married a lot. And so our plan was to get married and live in Athens for the rest of our life. And I think that was the plan all throughout third year. And then fourth year started, and I started my clinical residencies, and my preceptors were like very encouraging, and they were just, Lindsay, you need to do a residency. Like, you're really good at this. You seem to be really happy doing it. And when I brought it up to my boyfriend, he was just like, if you do it, we're done. He, for some reason, was very unencouraging and really showed a different side of himself. And so I kind of ignored the idea, and then things blew up. He cheated on me. We broke up, and I was just kind of like, I am going to put everything I have into getting a residency program. So at this point, I had my MBA. I had a 3.8 GPA at this point, and then I had been like semi-involved in clubs, but not the president of anything. And so one of my professors had a research project that he let me basically finish in a month and present the poster for it at mid-year. So I decided in October that I was going to do everything for residency, and applications were due at the end of December. So I went to mid-year in early December. Then I went to the residency showcase at mid-year and did nothing but walk up and down those aisles and talk to programs in the surrounding states that I was interested in going to. Made my list of, I think 15. I think I applied to 15 and applied to them. And then I interviewed at 6 of them. No, not 6. I think I interviewed at 10 of them, actually. I interviewed at 10. I ended up only ranking 2, which was stupid and bold of me, but luckily I did get my #1. But the reason I think I matched so well was because of my letter of intent. So they can read your resume, they can read your transcript and see what you are like in school and at work. They can see that. But in my letter of intent, I made it very personal. So it wasn't anything about my pharmacy school experience. It was about how my parents were from third world countries, how I had been exposed to different cultures growing up and different levels of poverty growing up, and how I was so fortunate to get to travel back to South Africa and Zimbabwe growing up, and how I really valued my time traveling and how it affected me like as a person and made me grow and be more aware of other cultures. I talked about how I was originally a music major and I was a competitive violinist growing up, and from that my interviews were so good because not only did they have, you know, my study material, like how I did in school, but they had who I was like at the core of my person. We talked more about going to South Africa and playing violin in all of my interviews than we did about pharmacy. And my number one program that I ranked and matched into, I loved my interview so much because we didn't even talk about pharmacy. They actually wanted to know who I was as a person, what I valued, and I got to talk about what they valued and what they wanted out of a resident. And so that's how I got my residency program. I can make a more detailed list and more detailed video about the whole process. But yeah, I did not work the entire 4 years of pharmacy school to get a residency. I kind of did a fast prep in 2 months. So thank God me and that guy broke up because I would be miserable, absolutely miserable if I lived in Athens, Georgia.